Hello, hello, everybody. Of course, welcome to the ESPL Weekly Series number 6. Joining me, finally, after everything has been said and done, and I got a little bit of a scratchy throat from a solo cast, is the lovely, the handsome, my favorite co-caster, Mito.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm finally back. Sorry I missed out the last game, but yeah, I've been dying to be able to cast alongside you for a while, but yeah, things are looking good now. So,
Well, I'm glad to have you. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was a travesty or a train wreck, but definitely wasn't as good, I gotta say.
yeah. So, how was the first game? Why don't you fill me in a little?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good actually. If you obviously weren't here to check it out, SNA +4, also known as Wild Witch Doctors against Motivation, Game 1. Went to the way of Wild Witch Doctors, but there was a little period there, kind of in this mid and early game, where Motivation, or what was it, like XG or something like that, last time is what their team name was, but Motivation, they started to actually command the game a little bit, command the pace of it, started to take a couple towers and tier 2s and that sort of thing, but I think when it came right down to it, it's just that they picked up Enigma, and obviously they I think Wild Witch Doctors just played a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner, but they picked up an Enigma for obviously that big black hole, Mito, and there were just so many ways to counter it. There's already a Nyx Assassin on Wild Witch Doctors, so a simple spiked carapace and just walking in would do it, and like there's just the black hole I think was used on 2 once, and then on a single Nyx Assassin once as well, and that's it.
Ah, okay. So the black hole wasn't used to its full potentials, I suppose.
Yeah, not so much.
Wouldn't a BKB have helped a lot, or there just wasn't time for him to farm up?
Oh, he did get one eventually, but then he only used it. He only had the opportunity to really use it once, and then it just sort of just went downhill from there, honestly. And Wild Witch Doctors, realizing that they had lost quite a bit of map control because they didn't have any of those tier 2s, and their lineup was really centered around ganking with Storm Spirit, Nyx Assassin, as we've actually seen them run before.
Okay.
They started just to start taking their own, or started taking tier 2s themselves and trying to just make sure that they put the pressure right back onto it. And as soon as that happened, Motivation couldn't really deal with it.
Okay, so is the Batrider like a respect ban? Was Batrider utilized by SNA +4?
No, neither
okay. So
was.
it's just a hero they don't like dealing with.
Yeah, neither was Ancient Apparition. Slardar was picked up by SNA +4, but beyond that, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Obviously, Doom was always a good pickup against SNA +4 because they seem to obviously love running Nyx Assassin. They love getting Storm Spirit for Ush. Hell, it's his profile picture, and he's always been amazing with that hero every single game I've seen him in. But yeah, I don't know, hard to say. Obviously, right off the bat, Dazzle Slardar. You've actually mentioned this to me, is that combo works out very nicely for whoever tends to choose it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of DIS teams use it recently. I think Empire plays it really, really well. Roxkiss does it as well. But yeah, so the starting 2 picks for both sides are looking really strong. Quite surprised though, no one cares about Ember, but it's pretty understandable. They probably have some strategies in mind, and well, it doesn't seem like Motivation wants to pick up an Ember up against the Doom. And as for SNA +4, maybe see it in the second pick phase. But in terms of laning, for SNA +4, it's still not that obvious. They can switch things up if they want to. Whereas Motivation, it seems like it's just gonna be the Shadow Priest plus the Slaughter combo, but no idea what they're gonna pair up with.
Oh yeah, I'm just not too sure either. We'll see how it goes, though. Obviously, they have picked up a Mirana, and Mirana Doom, as soon as Doom hits level 6, can be pretty scary in and of itself, just for setting up a pretty early gank there. And I mean, Doom counters everybody, but can deal very nicely with Dazzle in and of himself. Just puts down a Doom on Dazzle, but I suppose there's always some bigger, better targets. Yeah, I'm just not too sure what either lineup is running right now. Neither of them seem to be really pocket strats. Neither of them... They just both seem fairly strong at what they can do, and I think obviously whenever you do see a Doom, you need to think about how you can stop SNA +4 from playing very, very greedy with him.
Absolutely. One of the great ways to deal with Doom, however, is to pick multiple core heroes or multiple heroes that needs the Doom. Then the Doom is kind of stuck because you can only Doom one of those heroes, and the other heroes will still be able to dish out whatever they want to do. Shen is also pretty good against Doom because whoever gets Doom, you can just send him back. Smaller skirmishes, whereas team fights it might be a little bit more troublesome, but you can always heal them back up.
Oh yeah, and I mean obviously Slardar against Doom can do quite a lot, assuming that Slardar gets off to a slightly early advantage, or even just on par. Because of that minus armor, Doom can really take a beating, but I think that more likely than not, like you were saying, Motivation might just be playing that more more core heroes than SNA +4, and if they do that, I mean they've already picked up a Timbersaw and a Slardar. Obviously you have two already. Would expect to see a third as well, and if you just play that maybe slightly greedier game, or at least one where Doom has multiple targets for his Doom, it makes his life quite a bit harder.
Yeah, at the same time though, Slardar counters the first two picks from SNA +4. Doom, it's a hero that starts out with practically no armor and has low armor without items, and that Slardar minus 10 armor just at level 6, it's pretty damaging to a Doombringer. And as for Moonlight Shadows, that's another counter. It gets countered really hard by the amplified damage because it gives true vision, true sight. So I'm loving what Motivation has brought to the table so far, and they've even banned out all the setup heroes for Mirana. They banned out this Shadow Demon as well as the Bane Elemental. So there's still plenty of things. They can even throw in, say, Wraith King. Wraith King, I mean, that's another hero that's hard to deal with, especially for like heroes like Doom. Because sure, you can do them Wraith King, but what does it really do? He's just gonna come back with a second life.
No, yeah, exactly. And not a bad pickup by any means. For me though, it's like I want to see SNA go for, I want to say Shadow Shaman. We've seen Shadow Shaman Mirana work out fairly nicely as well as just a combo in and of itself, and would give them quite a lot more push in their bag as well. And when you look at what Motivation has, they have, I guess, a little bit of anti-push now that they've got Sand King there, but before it was looking a little bit weak to me. So, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Do you like this Sand King pickup coming out of Motivation here, by the way? They already have, I guess, Timbersaw's pure, so Sand King's gonna even out that magic curve, and then Slardar is obviously basically pure physical. So I guess it's evening out their damage capabilities quite nicely.
If they get off to a good start, if Slardar Sand King gets those levels as well as items fast like Blink Dagger, and Shadow Priest hits a level 6 with a Weave, then they can potentially dive really fast, really far. SNA +4, however, that lineup, I don't know. I just feel like it reminds me of C9 once again. And if you pick a Draw Ranger, then they have insane amount of ranged DPS, and Doom is always going to be your tank in the front. So, and they go for Witch Doctor.
Yeah, that's what I want to see too.
The Wild Witch Doctors pick up the Witch Doctor.
That might be the first time we've
actually...
Is
it gonna go wild?
Yeah, exactly. That might be the first time we've actually seen him do it. Well, I guess we'll just have to look at it go, see how it goes, obviously, as well. But like you're saying, the more range here that SNA +4 gets, kind of the scarier it just gets overall for Motivations. Obviously, Witch Doctor, not the best right clicker by any means, neither is Visage or anything like that, but both, or a lot of their spells, at the very least, Witch Doctor's ult, Visage's Soul Assumption as well, has a huge range. They could just possibly kite a lot of these melee heroes that are in here. The only one so far is Dazzle, and I can't even remember. I think Dazzle, does he have 600 range? I feel like it's like 550 or something, though.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, something like that.
5 seconds remaining.
Oh, okay. So DP, that's a good ban. That's a great ban. Actually. Good bans from both sides. DP, that's a hero that does massive amount of magic and as well as physical DPS, and that would have fit in very, very well with what Motivation had so far. And the silence is always great during team fights and whatnot. And they go for the Storm Spirit, so now they have a lineup that has insane amount of initiation. And when you have the Shadow Priest with the Weave, it's that much easier to engage.
And actually, this lineup, you obviously weren't here for the first game, but Motivation's lineup in this game is incredibly similar to what SNA +4 was running. They had the Storm Spirit, they had Timbersaw, they had Slardar. Only the supports have really changed. So maybe they're just trying to turn, basically turn it on their heads against SNA +4 and see if they can't play the same way that they did, which was going for those pickoffs. It actually didn't pan out too well for them early on, but then they were able to just recoup and bulldoze into this, or bulldoze into the lanes in the late game. But I don't know, I just really want to see this Witch Doctor be a core, man. I don't want it to be a support.
I mean, the Motivation lineup just looks so good right now. The only slight downside is they're not exactly the best at pushing towers, and going to tier 3 is going to be extremely difficult, even though with a great initiation they have, because SNA, they have Witch Doctor, they have Visage, they have things that make pushing towers relatively difficult. But apart from that, if Motivation can snowball, right, it would be really hard to come back from for a SNA +4.
5 seconds remaining.
And a Darkseer now. I mean, I like SNA's lineup. Obviously, it's got Witch Doctor, it's got Doom, and those are two of my favorite heroes. But I'm kind of fearful that it doesn't have. It's got a lot of sustained damage. Obviously, you have Doom, which isn't too much burst. Mirana can throw out a little bit. Visage has Soul Assumption. But Witch Doctor, Darkseer, and Doom, those are not huge bursty heroes, really, especially early on. And I'm a little bit worried that they just won't be able to take out some of these big targets on Motivation's lineup. Like Storm Spirit, if you can't quite take him out fast enough, he's just going to zip away. Timbersaw will be able to Timber Chain, and Slardar is quite a beefy hero. And if any of those guys get weaved on as well, it's just going to be so difficult for SNA to take him out, I think.
Ooh, on the contrary, I actually think Darkseer was such a brilliant pick. If you look at the lineup for Motivation, pretty much 4 out of 5 heroes need to get close in order to fight. And when they do, if there's a Darkseer vacuum wall into, say, Unstable Concoction, just having the Concoction bouncing around and a Visage Familiars landing on top.
Unstable Concoction, Mito. Do you mean,
sorry.
Do you mean paralyzing casks?
I'm sorry.
Oh, Mito. Well, let's get
my
into
English no good.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Let's get into who's actually playing. Who? We have IX Mike on the Darkseer, the only one on his team who has anything similar to a mustache. It would look like Ush gonna be the Doom in the mid. It looks like getting pooled a little bit. SNA gonna be this Witch Doctor. Sieves Neves or Seven Nevis, whichever. Mito, which way do you think it's pronounced? Sieves Neves.
I don't know. It's hard. Like when I first started, I thought it was like 7 Eves, but then the way he capitalized the letters.
Right? I mean, I've been calling him Sieves Neves and loving it. Gonna be playing as the Mirana and Bri. Gonna be this Visage. Mito, now that you're back, would you like to take these Radiant folk?
Ah, yeah, absolutely. So we have Fluffy on the offlane Timbersaw. We have Chopper gonna be going as the mid solo Storm. And we have Borko Norris playing as support Sand King.
The battle begins.
Team, let me win. Thank you. He's gonna be playing as the support Shadow Demon. Sorry, Shadow Priest. I'm getting my words mixed up today. And finally, we have the Goldar playing as the carry Slaughter.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
it does seem like SNA +4 wants to run aggressive tri-lane, but it's not the easiest setup for the arrow. I mean, sure, you've got a great slow coming out of Visage with a Grave Chill, and then you have the paralyzing cask, not the unstable concoction, but the stun duration is only 1 second on heroes, so it's not the easiest to land the stuns, but this is a tri-lane that has so much right-click power. All 3 heroes have great attack range, and it's pretty hard not to get right-clicked multiple times every time you try to last hit.
Oh yeah, and I mean, despite the fact that, yeah, he's got Dazzle, who's a very nice support. Yeah, you have Sand King, who can do some nice stun kind of craziness in the lane. You just feel like Tagalder will pretty much never have a good time here with 3 pretty much max range right clickers. Let's see, you got 600 on Visage, you got 600 on Mirana, and yeah, you're gonna have 600 on Witch Doctor. With 3 max range right clickers, I mean, all of which don't have abysmal damage. Mirana actually has the lowest, but you're just gonna have a horrible time no matter how many stout shields you really have as well.
Yeah, this tri lane, it's for motivation is suffering a little bit because they have 2 melee heroes and only 1 range. And Sand King, it's not, you can't really just rush in to get a Burrow Strike at level 1. So that's why they're utilizing the pull for Bokonoris. So hopefully he'll be able to catch up in terms of leveling. And I'm expecting them to make a go on SNA +4 once they hit level 3. But it is very, very difficult to go for a kill when there's a Witch Doctor on the other team.
Oh yeah, now we got a little bit of rune control coming out of SNA. He actually needs to be a little bit careful. Instead, just decides to pick it up, not go the way of anybody. Ush has actually gotten his bottle, not having the best of times against the Storm Spirit in the mid, but I think that's pretty understandable for almost any melee hero anyways.
Yeah. It's just a matchup that naturally favors the Storm Spirit until about level 6, and there's
we have an engagement. SNA in a bit of trouble. Has been poisoned, touched, and stunned. Looks like the paralyzing cast is actually going to be able to bounce. Not the full one. Soul Assumption flies. Shadow Wave able to not quite getting out of there. Looks like 7 Eves able to do whatever he can, and now Tagalder with a big stun. Ooh, getting so close to falling. SNA able to just shoot him with his little pink shots in the end there. And Grave Chill now going down. SNA +4 absolutely commanding this tri lane. And it looks like Team Let Me Win, I Beg You, just running for his life. Not going to be able to get out of here. Not too sure where Borko Norris really came from, but now trying his very best to try and take down 7 Eves. Can't quite get the most magnificent of body blocks. And an arrow flies, does indeed not land, sadly. But SNA +4 having a terrific time in this bot lane now.
Yeah, and at top, I'm expecting Doxia to win the matchup because he has Iron Shell, and Iron Shell, again, it's something that's just so hard for most melee heroes to deal with. And on top of that, IX Mike is pulling the creep wave into the jungle camps.
I mean, it has been actually quite even though in the top lane, despite the fact that yeah, Ion Shell can pile on the hurt for pretty much any melee hero. Now Luffy needs to be so incredibly careful. Not too sure what he's doing here. One big vacuum might be enough, or even just a surge. And now it looks like that's exactly what he needs to do. One more punch, boom! There it is. Luffy with some pretty unfortunate misplay. It looks like there. I mean, that was pretty unnecessary. You just stayed in double Ion Shell. Even as a Timber Saw, you're not going to be living through that for very long.
Oh yeah, he probably thought he had enough burst, but in fact, it's not quite enough against the Doxia. Being a naturally tanky hero to begin with, and then having decent HP pool, having great mana pool as well, just being able to spam those Iron Shells.
Oh yeah, and I mean, as far as this bot lane is concerned, now that ooh, there is the cask to Galder. Oh, it is actually definitely enough to set up that arrow. You were a little bit worried about that earlier, but with Grave Chill, with the cask, because if you get even one bounce, he is just going to be basically stalled enough that an arrow should be able to land, and exactly what happened. And now we actually have a TP coming out from Orange right back into the fray, but the arrow flies once again. No follow-up, obviously. Everybody a little bit low on mana, but doesn't seem to really phase him too much. And Bry just taking this ranged creep back here to, excuse me, to the lane. Make a nice little bit of lane control just of themselves, keeping that creep line in a nice, safe spot for themselves.
Yeah, and at mid just now, Storm Spirit was kind of close. Did a lot of harassment damage to Ush. But ultimately, Chopper just wasn't able to take him down, and a couple of bottle charges takes Ush back to, what, 3/4.
Now we actually have rotations. Smoke Gank coming out of Team Motivation. They just need to set something up there. Ush is definitely going to be falling to this one. Can't really be doing too much. Chopper almost had him all by his lonesome, and I mean, this was just the icing on the cake, these two supports there, trying to make sure that he did not get away, and obviously he did not. He did have Doom, so I mean, that's pretty much why you want those supports there. Even if you do go in on Chopper, if you can't quite burst him down and you get doomed, you're just going to be having a horrible time getting out of that one alive.
Yeah, not only that, it's a great rotation. It takes off a little bit of the pressure from bot lane, because that lane was pretty much lost. They gave away so many kills in the past engagement, and putting pressure on that mid tower would be a great great alternative to what they were doing. Trying to pull the supports from SNA plus forward into other lanes and free up a little bit more room for Slaughter to last hit.
Okay, now it looks like Chopper going right onto Ush once again. Does indeed get that latch, and now with the stun coming up from Borko Norris and the Shadow Waves, not going to be doing too much, obviously. Chopper, with that double damage, just piling on a little too much right click for Ush to live through, and obviously with one little armor, that Stout Shield is not going to be giving you as much protection as you really want him to. I'm actually a little surprised that IX Mike has been doing, or I should say Luffy. Sorry, IX Mike was Timbersaw last game. That IX Mike, or Luffy, was doing as good as he is in the top lane. Chopper, Soul Assumption, doesn't seem to actually do any damage just there in the mid, and those two supports not quite able to polish him off on his own. Looks like 7 Eves now, maybe a bit too far. Always does have Leap and Phase available. He has a magic wand, but he needs to be careful here. If Borko gets a stun, 7 Eves really needs to bait this out. Can't quite leap in time, but doesn't seem to really matter, and it looks like they actually bring in the Courier for a little bit of extra Shadow Wave damage, but nothing too much coming there. In the top lane, however, it looks like IX Mike getting pestered by Luffy a little bit, but once again, those Ion Shells just absolutely destroying him. Now we do have Chopper going in, starting to use a little bit of that dominant mid money and making sure that he can do whatever he can. Has actually picked up, oh, sorry, I was looking at Darks here. We now have Ush running in. He wants to get this Doom on Chopper. Where is it? Instead, realizes he's just not going to be able to chase him. And instead, we do have a TP coming out from Luffy just to get away. So, I mean, still anybody's game right now.
Oh yeah, so those are some great rotations coming out from Motivation. That help at mid, that was great. And then just being at top, like with the Storm Spirit, taking out the laning heroes, like those individual heroes that are supposed to get the free farm, getting that one-on-one matchup. And now that's another great tower deny, but this
Tigalder in a bit of
just might
trouble.
cost his life.
Ooh, he is surprisingly low, and of course with Maledict still on, these familiars really want to make something happen. Split up from the familiars, can't quite land the stun, just sprinting away a little bit too fast, and the arrow flies so close to landing, can't quite catch its target, however. So he's going to be able to get out of there, but they do get a tower, so not too bad.
Yeah, just having these multiple core heroes it's working out very nicely for them. Just having like Storm Spirit pressuring mid tower, and it feels like SNA plus 4 right now, they're just playing Chasing Tails. The supports are constantly rotating around, trying to help each lane. But yeah, so far I feel like Motivation, they're doing what they should. Just coming out of a bad start, but they're starting to pull a little bit more even.
Ooh, now we have an engagement onto the mid. Ush being a little bit of bait. Just needs to get a Doom on 1. Chopper not quite there, though. Nice cask on 2, however. Borko is completely doomed here. Tigalder shouldn't really be being right here at all. Doom as well on Chopper, and they have just turned that gank on its head as well. Actually, you do have Team Let Me Win just TPing in despite all of these heroes here. Needs to be so incredibly careful, and when everything is said and done, they get 3 kills. They get a tower, SNA plus 4. Just trying to basically beat back Motivation and basically crush their motivation, I feel. Oh, what a horrible pun.
Yeah, but by no means are they out of it. They have all the initiation power in the world for Motivation, and they can get pickoffs really easily as well. And Timbersaw, he wasn't even in the fray. He was just like staying top and dealing with IX Mike, and he's actually doing really well, surprisingly well. 10 minutes in, he has 54 last hits, 3 behind the Doxia.
I mean, I just guess that reactive armor, that health regen just barely enough to keep him in there, and now he's actually waddling into what looks to be a huge force of heroes. Bri finally does find him, however. It looks like IX Mike trying to bait him out, trying to see if he can't find him. There's the Grave Chill. Chakram on 2. Might try to burst down SNA at the very least. Almost gets Bri. Can't quite do it. Chopper might be able to clean him up. Can't quite do it now. Soul Assumption to finish him off as well. So 2 for 1. Not the best of trades by any means. And things just, it's like things for Motivation starting to fall apart ever so slightly, I feel.
Yeah, that trade was definitely not worth it. You traded a Storm for a Doxia. Storm is the critical hero that you need to keep up those momentum. I just feel like they shouldn't be looking for these fights so early on. They just need a little bit more time, a little bit of breathing room to get some items on the Storm Spirit as well as Slaughter, and just having that having that initiation power for the Blink Dagger Slaughter.
Ooh, now Masty P's coming in. Borko Norris eating. Oh no, the shortest range burrow strike in the world. It's like Chopper is able to get there in time to get at least seven Eves, see whatever he can. Some nice cast bounces. Oh, to Gulder and Borko Norris completely caught out. Looks like we do have a nice little run away from Fluffy with that Timber Chain. And actually, IX Mike does not find Borko Norris. Arrow flies, doesn't quite land, however. It looks like we have Marana already dying to Chopper. And things actually not going the way I had quite expected. To Gulder now trying to get in the heap of things. Nice stun on 2. There it is. Finally, IX Mike taking not that much damage. Doom now on Team Let Me Win, I beg you. He's not going to be able to finish off too much here as well. Now Chopper just running for his life. Ush ever so slightly faster with those phase boots. Chopper just needs to try and get up enough mana or deny himself. Ooh, and he's actually still quite low. Is able to just get 1 point, but it doesn't seem to really matter. And Ush coming out way ahead at the end of that fight. Whew. Whew, it just kept going.
Yeah, so even though it was a 4-for-4 hero trade, being like, I still felt that was in favor of SNA +4.
Oh, I agree.
Ultimately, Doom, he is a core hero, and if he does well, and being like the lone survivor of that team fight, 12 minute in, he's level 11, had a rough start, got killed off twice, but has caught up, and he already has two kills and 2 assists. I mean, 2 kill and 5 assists.
Oh yeah, and I just want to look at the gold graph real quickly, and as you can see, SNA +4 actually leading by about 7,000. I expect the experience to be even more in favor than that. Actually, drastically less. Huh. Never mind. And now it looks like, are they going to be going for a Roche? They do get that stun from the arrow, and that's nice. And it's the Medallion Visage that's going to give him a chance for this. Double damage on the Doom. He is just hitting like a truck as well. So, I mean, they're doing fine, but it's really that Medallion that's going to be making life a whole lot easier for him. And they just basically get a free Roche here. Not too bad by any means. I wouldn't expect it either.
Oh, yeah. This isn't the kind of lineup you would traditionally expect to be able to take Roche so fast. But with Medallion, with a couple of nice auras from having those pack leaders aura, and yeah, just having familiar strike clicking, Roche just died so quick. But at the same time, like the heroes from Motivation, they don't need a lot of items to get them rolling. Apart from maybe the Storm Spirit. They even without, like, even though they're behind in terms of golden XP lead, they can still take on a full-on team fight.
Oh yeah, very true indeed, and especially if you get that weave down or a nice. If Slardar and Sand King get at least 1 nice stun on 2, they should be able to do quite nicely. And now actually, SNA, they have the Aegis. They know that Doom is incredibly tanky. Don't think they have. Oh, they do just have the mech on IX Mike, so they can really start pushing and forcing these issues as well in these team fights. They have a mech. Fairly certain that Motivation does not, and they can just continue to go on, continue these pushes, and continue this pressure up if they want to. Now deciding to rotate into the mid and take that tier 2, because the creep wave is just that far forward, and it's just going to be so difficult for them, I feel, right now as well. And actually, Ush, he's got his plate mail. He's getting to be quite tanky now as well.
Wow. Okay, so the plate mail pretty much just negates the level 1 from Slaughter with the amplified damage. And looking at things, it just feels like the Slaughter as a core is severely underleveled, and some space needs to be given to the hero because they're constantly trying to defend towers and constantly trying to fight, and it seems like he's just been dying in every single one of them. And when your core Slaughter is just getting taken out, it makes the game that much harder.
Oh, Chopper in the trees, not too sure what he's doing here. Trying to just buy a little bit of time. Looks like if a Doom had gone on him, that would have been it for sure. But just buying a little bit of time for this tower, it would appear right now. Not going too badly, but yeah, like you were saying, the pressure is really getting piled on by SNA +4. Now we have an engagement, actually. Looks like Luffy has gone straight into Doom, straight onto him as well. Beautiful vacuum into wall, hits 3, but now to Gulder. Oh, SNA, this Witch Doctor going completely unimpeded, and that team fight, oh my god, an instant GG coming out of Motivation there. They realize just not gonna be panning out. Looks like we have a cheeky pause coming out of Marana as well, but oh golly.
I have no idea what they're saying, but damn, that Witch Doctor, the cast plus the ultimate, wow.
I know, it just looks like they blew all their stuns on the big heroes that they wanted to take out there, and really, they just didn't have any way to deal with the Witch Doctor once he started to do that ult, and I think that's really what kind of bit them in the ass when it came right down to it. And I mean, it just absolutely decimated them. They had, I think, 1 stun in response, but it was definitely enough there as well.
I don't think that Timbersaw should have charged in like that.
Yeah, not so much. But nonetheless, we digress, and we actually have to get going and hopefully get another game going on. The second semifinals in none too short a time. Here is hoping. And of course, I've been Briefcase, bringing you this ESPL weekly series along with Mito.
Yeah, so I guess we have another semifinals coming up, right? Because I'm
Yeah,
just
we
not getting
do.
enough Dota.
That's right. We do indeed have another semifinals, and then right after that, we're going to be going right into the finals, at the very least, in a fairly quick amount of time. So hopefully don't go anywhere, anybody. It shouldn't be too long a while at all, and we'll see you then. So stay tuned.